Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a complex piece of theology. We're looking at excerpts from a 1974 speech by Reverend Sun Myung Moon, all about this concept called a Day of All Things, World Day. And it's a huge framework, covers everything from creation, the fall, and the very specific path needed for restoration.
That's right. Our goal here is to unpack this system and do it pretty thoroughly, but also, get the core concepts quickly. We're not just talking about a holiday. It's a whole view of how things were meant to be, how they went wrong, and the mechanic sacrifice, or what's called indemnity, needed to fix it all. It's quite a detailed roadmap built on, well, intense dedication.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with the vision. The original picture of the unfallen world. Source talks about this incredible level of happiness, how the universe was supposed to have just one single day, always celebrating this day of all things.
Yeah, and the level of joy described, it's almost hard to grasp. If Adam and Eve had reached perfection without the fall, it wasn't just like people being happy, it was meant to soak through everything. The source talks about joy on horizontal and vertical levels, so God, humanity, all of creation delighting together.
That's the bit that really jumps out, that universal aspect. It's so specific, too. Not just feeling happy in your heart, but your whole body. The source literally says the strands of hair in the cells would be happy. Dancing, even.
Right. It's this idea of like molecular joy. Happiness is this cosmic force. And there were supposed to be songs, too. 3 kinds. God singing praise for Adam and Eve praising each other, their mate, and then them praising creation.
Wow. And that whole vision, that single day of universal celebration, it just got shattered by the fall, which connects to why later on there's this need to establish separate holy days, doesn't it? Parents' Day, Children's Day, God's Day, trying to piece back together that original day of all things.
Exactly. That original design for ultimate joy, the fall turned it into the complete opposite. The source calls it the most miserable day to remember, and again, not just human misery, universal sorrow.
Yeah, you see that echoed in the Bible reference mentioned, Romans 8.22. Where all things have been groaning and travail together, like creation itself is suffering because humanity failed.
Which raises a key theological point here. Why didn't God just fix it instantly? Or, punish them directly? The source says God turned his face away. What's the meaning behind that? Why not intervene immediately?
Well, the implication seems to be that the sin was just too deep, too fundamental. If God had just, as the text puts it, slapped them, maybe it would have been a superficial fix or even a relief in a strange way. But by turning away, it signifies this profound break. God, humanity, creation, all plunged into utter sorrow and grief.
And the direct result, everything, mankind and creation fell under Satan's dominion, spiritually speaking. So God's intended ownership was lost, replaced by this evil power. And that's the whole point of restoration, isn't it? To win back that ownership, to reverse that spiritual alignment.
Right, which leads us straight into the mechanism for how that happens, sacrifice, indemnity. The idea is, since humans fell, humans have to be the ones to restore things. They are the focus of this creation.
Exactly. And indemnity is the key word here. It's like the spiritual cost, the condition needed to pay back that failure. Because, man, the highest being fell. The restoration needs a proportional sacrifice.
And that creates this hierarchy of value for sacrifices. Everything else in creation is considered less valuable than humans. So things had to be offered for human restoration. That's the logic behind, say, the animal sacrifices of the Old Testament, like heifers.
Yes, that provides the context. Wow. But it goes much further than animals. The theology actually demands that righteous people, sages, saints, even Christian martyrs, shed their blood too, which is, a pretty stark and difficult requirement.
The text does say God doesn't delight in bloodshed, but that it provides the necessary, reasonable condition, a condition needed to restore fallen humanity because the original mistake was so huge. It takes a massive spiritual payment to offset it.
And this leads to one of the really striking points in the material. The closer we are to God, the more sacrifice we have to pay. It's completely counterintuitive, isn't it? You'd think being closer means less suffering.
But here it's the opposite. Proximity demands the greatest cost. It really reframes suffering.
It does.
Yeah.
And it ties into that quote from Jesus cited in the text.
Yeah. Whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life will preserve it.
Right. So in this context, losing your life through righteous sacrifice means you're not truly dead. You live on, you're remembered in the foundation built by that sacrifice. You become part of the restored lineage.
So the physical sacrifice fuels the spiritual restoration.
Exactly. Now, central to all this is the figure of the Messiah, defined here as the Adam without the fall, his job. Restore the lost Eve, his bride, and set up the restored family.
And that family is called the core of restoration.
The priority placed on this figure, it's absolute. Astonishing, really. The source says you have to leave dying parents, loved ones, even your nation if it's collapsing, to meet this perfected person. Citing the Bible, Matthew and Luke, it says the Messiah's value is greater than the whole world.
That's not just asking for commitment, is it? It's demanding you abandon everything else. An almost impossible choice for anyone hearing this.
It's an extreme demand, no question, but the theology behind it is that this perfected Adam figure is the essential starting point. He's the key to restoring the family unit, which is like the blueprint for the restored universe. Miss that connection, and the whole thing fails.
Okay, let's shift to the holy days then, because this is where it gets really complex with the timeline. The original intended order got completely flipped, reversed, because of human failure.
Right. And what's interesting is the text acknowledges why it was reversed. The ideal was God's day first, but because the movement apparently faced rejection from the established Christian world, that rejection created a blockage, forcing a delay and this total inversion of the holy day sequence.
So instead of God first, Parents' Day came first in 1960. Why start there?
Well, Parents' Day was established to restore the parents, the central couple, the true parents, who at that point in 1960 were considered not yet fully perfected. So it put them in this difficult role, described as priests who have to shed blood among the members, meaning they had to spiritually sacrifice the members in a way for the sake of the wider world, paying indemnity for the Christian world's failure to fulfill its own sacrificial role.
Wow. Okay, so that sets up the next step.
Yep.
Children's Day and the Day of All Things, they come next, together, May 1st, 1963. After the True Children and the Family Foundation were established.
Correct. And then finally, God's Day, last in 1968.
So this reverse timeline itself shows how human failure complicates God's plan, right?
Yeah.
Forces these long, difficult detours requiring more indemnity.
Absolutely. And it was all tied into this required period of restoration. 3 7-year courses, 21 years total. This was needed, according to the text, to indemnify the 2,000 years since Jesus Christ. And in 1974, when the speech was given, they were near the end of the second course, expecting huge global shifts in the third one.
This whole theology is just incredibly demanding. Which brings us to the commitment required from followers.
Yeah.
This idea of needing rock-like faith to claim spiritual ownership over things like land or property back from Satan.
Yeah, the basic idea is that the world is spiritually under Satan's claim, even if people don't realize it. So to reclaim it, members need to exercise spiritual authority in the name of the true parents. But there's a huge condition attached, a really strict one.
Which is?
Absolute, unwavering resolve. You have to have the conviction, I can never change before God.
And if you waver, if that conviction isn't absolute.
That's where the danger lies, according to the source. Vacillation, doubt that's Satan's way in. If you start thinking, why am I doing this? Or second-guessing your path, if you try to use that spiritual authority without total rock-solid faith, the warning is you'll be counterattacked by Satan immediately. That inner certainty is absolutely crucial. It's your shield.
And the weapons in this fight, they aren't physical, are they?
No, not at all. The source lists them. Faith, knowledge, truth, personality, and love.
Personality, how does that fit in?
It seems to mean strength of character, integrity, a kind of spiritual presence. The idea is you win by having moral and spiritual superiority. More love, more truth, a stronger, God-centered personality than worldly influences. That's how you gain spiritual dominion.
So wrapping this all together, what's the takeaway for someone following this path? It seems like this whole demanding structure, the sacrifice, the indemnity, the reversed holy days, it's all meant to build this sense of pride. Pride in celebrating these specific holy days, especially the Day of All Things, as proof of progress towards that ultimate goal, restoring God's dominion over everything, family, nation, world.
Exactly. And that sacrifice theme, it builds towards the ultimate test.
Yeah.
Death itself. You know, it's one thing to say you're willing to sacrifice. The source argues the real test comes when you actually face death.
And it presents this really powerful final image about the greatest song.
Yes. The greatest song isn't sung in comfort. It's the song of praise you sing while dying for the cause.
Wow.
The greatest death in this view is dying for God, for humanity, for all creation. And the claim is that such a death will be remembered, consoled by God, by the whole world.
And that leaves us with a really provocative final thought, doesn't it? The standard it sets. The source pushes it even further, suggesting that in death, you should strive to be greater than Jesus himself.
Yeah, I mean, if Jesus could forgive his enemies on the cross, What level of joy, of purpose, of forgiveness do you need to reach in your final moments to surpass even that? That's the incredibly high bar this theology sets. That total commitment to universal restoration, no matter the cost. That's the essence of this deep dive.